Are you always doing repetition-based drills and using tennis balls to train just because you saw a technical training guru posting it on social media? I'm sorry to break it to you guys, but those methods will quickly lead your technical skill development to a dead end. On one hand, you have repetition-based drills and most importantly sessions, where you basically go over the exact motor pattern over and over again, solely focusing on its technical execution, leaving skill completely out of the equation. No creativity, no problem solving, no game conditions. Just numbers that mean little to nothing. In fact, if those numbers are excessively high, the risk for an overuse injury gets bigger and bigger. Not to mention the fact that if you're performing those reps with the wrong technique, that exact false motor pattern can be adopted by your neuromuscular system, leading to decrements in your technical development. Having said that, should you completely ditch them? Despite the cons we mentioned, there are some ways you can use those drills and only gain the pros they have to offer, and that is exactly what we are gonna go over now. So how do you structure a technical skill development session? Let's start off the first and the second phase of the session exactly where we left off. Repetition-based drills. Now, given that you have established an efficient level of technique and you're performing those drills properly, repetition-based drills can be used at the start of a session to prime you for more demanding drills later on. In other words, you're basically using them to sharpen up your technique and slowly intensify the effort you put into each repetition. Start off at a slow tempo to really ingrain that motor pattern and gain the kinesthesia of a given skill, and slowly ramp up the intensity the closer you get to the next stages of the session. Now, you may have noticed that I didn't set apart phases 1 and 2 of the session, and that is because you can start off with whichever you like. For the purpose of the video though, the second part of the session consists of something that is probably the missing link in modern technical training, and that is simple cognitive drills. But what do I mean with simple? Now, you can interpret that in various ways. It can be a simple action like a change of direction directed by a cognitive stimulus like a visual or verbal cue, or it can be a repetition-based technical action combined with a cognitive stimulus. The focus of these drills emphasizes two areas. Number one, get your brain actively involved in the session by solving simple problems, and number two, get you into the habit of using visual and verbal information to guide your actions on the ball. The good thing about cognitive training is that it makes you more aware of how important information is in modern football. For example, if you're just playing academy, amateur, or even semi-pro football, chances are the cognitive demands of your level aren't that high and haven't been challenged before. However, try making that step up to the pro or even the elite game, and I promise you, you will feel the difference that those split seconds make. So please start developing what I call the slow motion effect by simply engaging your eyes, ears, and brain more during the training session. The results can be phenomenal. Now notice what I mentioned. You can use both repetitive drills and cognitive drills in whatever order you like or find more efficient. For example, if you start off with a repetitive technical drill, you might want to transition to 5 minutes of a simple cognitive exercise without the ball before adding the ball to the cognitive training for another 10 to 15 minutes. Having said that, you can also do the exact opposite by starting off the session with simple reactionary drills. The basic idea behind this is that you're first focusing on stimulus A, then on stimulus B, and finally combining those two together. It's just a matter of what you want to focus on the most, and then properly managing and adjusting the time and energy you spend on each. It really isn't that complicated. Now in stage number 3, things get a tiny little bit more complicated, and that is because you want to get yourself as close to the demands of the game, and most importantly your position, as possible. And no, I don't mean laying out a bunch of cones, hurdles, poles, and ladders as if you were designing the layout of a new airport. What I'm really talking about is problem solving and position-specific game patterns. Now, creating position-specific drills is a task that many players find difficult. However, I'm gonna give you a couple of tips that will make this process really easy and simple for you. The first step you want to take is to make an analysis of your game and your positional needs. I want you to ask yourself and find out what the most common patterns of your game are from a tactical perspective. What are you doing on the ball? What are you doing off the ball? What are your most common options? Approximately how many meters do you cover during those runs? What directions are you moving to? How are you cooperating with your teammates during those common tactical patterns of your game? Now, once you've analyzed and found out what those patterns are, I want you to find 1, 2, or even more solutions that you can implement both in-game and while you're training. Evaluate your options, both the progressive and the conservative ones, and practice those solutions at training until they get so ingrained into your neuromuscular system that you perform them subconsciously when the ball is on fire. Usually, a position-specific drill will consist of a technical, a tactical, a cognitive, and sometimes a physical training stimulus. Those drills are usually limited in time and space, or even sometimes by the presence of an opponent to put pressure on you. The whole idea of this training stage is to get you into scenarios you will meet in-game and challenge you on every possible level. A football game is chaotic, and those are the conditions that we are trying to mimic at training. Start training smarter, and you will see your efforts paying off 10 times more than if you were to just train harder. Until the next time, guys, have a good one.